going to record this. So when I essentially began this journey, I was in a really, really dark place in my life where I just felt like no matter wherever I turned, I was just boxed in on every side, and it was absolutely devastating and overwhelming for me. And I felt like I was doing everything that I knew with all of my might to help this really devastating time in my life, but I felt I was getting nowhere, which made it even more frustrating. And so essentially, I just crying out, I felt that my soul was just crying out for a way forward. And these two beautiful words just flashed in front of my consciousness. In fact, they flashed in front of my consciousness as if they were neon lights. They were like bright, and I could see two words, and it said, let go. And I knew that was the answer immediately. It was speaking to me from such a deep place because I realized I was doing everything but that. I was doing everything but what I knew from my practice, especially my practice I've been a lifelong student of metaphysics. So I understood that concept that when we let go, things can really transform. And so I went on this journey, and what I was astounded at, I learned more about releasing, and I learned that it's one thing to say, let go and let God, but it's another thing to do it. It's another thing to live it and experience it and make it practical. And for me, the Sedona method was exactly that self-inquiry, these really poignant questions that caused me to open my mind and think differently, but that I could do it on my own time, that it could be my own experience, that nobody was going to tell me what was true or not true. I got to experience it myself. So I loved that about the Sedona method and this process of just self-inquiry and asking myself questions to make it practical to let go. Because when you realize that letting go offers you so much more than holding on, then you want to let go. But it's a practice and it's an experience, and that everybody gets to experience it for themselves. And so, long story short, I noticed that I was just happier. I could sleep at night again. And all that I was doing differently was I was releasing. And I started to just I was like, wait a minute, there's something to this because it was immediate. The relief would be immediate if I was like struggling with something and I would go through a release, whether it was with another person or a guided release. I would experience relief. But then what astonished me was the cumulative effect, where long term things were just getting better and I just didn't have as much. Lester was the original sort of sharer of this information, and he talks about aversions and attachments. And often we're bouncing between these attachments in our life and strong aversions, fears or struggles, and we're bouncing back and forth. And that's what makes life so uncomfortable because of these strong aversions and attachments that we have that we don't even realize we have. And so as we let go, we are just freed from the bondage of attachments and aversions. And it's one thing to talk about it, but it's an entire another one to experience it. And so just long story short, what I began to notice was I started having my whole life was getting better. There was just a consistent level of peace no matter what I was facing. I was still facing these daunting experiences, but I just wasn't as rattled by them. And then I started to notice that I had more prosperity in my life. Things were just getting better and better and better. I was doing things I'd always wanted to do, but never really gave myself permission to do. And so I was like, wow, like this is amazing. And I became so deeply grateful for this practice because of its simplicity. I have a very busy lifestyle. I have children. I'm caring for an elderly parent. I my lifestyle's really much busier than I would like it to be. And yet I can do this practice all the time throughout a busy lifestyle. I manage, we have two households in two different states, and I drive back and forth between these households. So there's a lot from on my plate a lot of the time. Doesn't matter. I'm constantly letting go in this practice. And so I felt such gratitude for this practice that I just want to share it with others. Like I just love it so much. And I love the freedom and particularly in this time, in this season of my life, to have so much more prosperity as a busy mom. And it's like if I could share and touch just one other individual who didn't know about this before, if I could, it would mean everything to me because it's like when your cup runneth over, you just want to share. And so that's really what this whole thing was sprung from. And then I started this community, this peace and prosperity community that's free. And it's free right now, but I am going to turn it into a paid community because there's so many resources there. And anybody who joins now while it's free will stay free. So you will have access to everything like everyone else when it becomes a paid community. So hint hint, like I'm not sure when I'm going to do that, but that will be and you'll have lifetime access free, which is pretty cool. So I will just put in the chat the community link. So you're welcome to join. And anybody else who might want to join while it's still free, this is a good time to do it. I'm not going to make it paid in the immediate future, but I will eventually because I want it to be just full of resources. And right now, what's there is the guided meditations that I first created for myself. So if you need, like I needed a lot of support when I first started the journey, and there is a lot of live support, but there wasn't as much of the guided releases as I would have wanted. So I would create them for myself. And then I thought I started sharing them, and my friends were like, this is awesome. And so there's a lot of that in the community too. So meditations, guided releases. I have a lot of entrepreneurs who will play it during the day to bring them a sense of peace and give them ease. And it's just a nice gift. So just sharing from the heart, from that place of when you have something you want to give and share, there is such abundance in doing so, whatever you feel inspired to do. So we'll step into a guided group release right now. And so you're invited to just take a nice deep breath. And if you need to get a little more comfortable, this is a good time. And if you're not muted, you're welcome to mute yourself. And so as we move into this group release, you'll notice this is an experience. It's your experience, nobody else's. And so I invite you to give yourself the gift of stillness just for this short time. Because I notice that when I tune into these calls, I love tuning in. Sometimes I get distracted and busy with stuff to do. And then when I stop and I'm really still, it makes all the difference. So just a few moments of stillness can be deeply rejuvenating. So I invite you to take a nice deep breath if you like. Good. And as you continue to take some nice, deep breath. Just notice your inner experience as you turn inwardly. You might notice the inner world like a landscape. And you might just gently notice that landscape. And taking another nice deep breath. Could you simply stop? And could you notice what's here now, in this moment? You might notice that just by stopping and being present, that is a release in and of itself. You just feel better. What if the present moment is all there really is, in all its perfection, in all its wholeness? And could you just check and stop and see for yourself? Could you notice the perfection of this moment? And could you notice that there's nothing missing or incomplete about this moment? And this week, I had a spontaneous question pop in my thought that was really helpful, and I wanted to share it with you. The question was, could you allow everything to be exactly as it is, just for now, just as an experiment? Could you allow everything, just for now, to be exactly as it is, without needing to fix anything or change anything, without needing to control it? Could you allow everything to be exactly as it is? Just notice what it feels like to just ponder that question, to be open to it. And if anything is stirred up by that, if there's any feeling of resistance to that question, could that be okay? Could that be allowed to be here? And anything that comes up to the surface, any feelings or thoughts, anything at all, could you be open to the possibility that it simply comes up so that it can be set free? Like a butterfly at the window. Could you open the window and could you let it go? And could you free yourself? What if you were the only one who was holding yourself back from experiencing freedom in your life? Just what if? Just just to see what happens. What if you gave yourself permission to have freedom? And maybe just for now, could you allow yourself to have freedom? And could you allow yourself to return to freedom? And any thoughts or feelings or memories that come up, could they be allowed to have some freedom too? Could all of that be allowed to return to freedom? And so we're going to do a little practice here. This is something I like to do when I first discovered that I was the only one who was withholding the good stuff in my experience. I just played around with this practice of just sort of checking in with yourself. What if in reality, like pure reality beyond the changing forms or the ups and downs, the sort of the story of life. What if behind it all there's a changeless reality, a reality that really feels like home, a place of consistent peace, never changing peace, a place that is wholly safe, perfection, really. The word perfect means whole and complete. Nothing is lacking or missing, that nothing can be added to it, and nothing can be taken from it. And what if all of this feels so familiar to you because it is the essence of your being? And could you be open to the possibility that at the core of your being is this changeless peace, this deep sense of home, this place of perfect safety? And could you allow yourself to have all of that? Could you allow yourself to have a sense of changeless peace? Could you allow yourself to have perfect safety? And could you allow yourself to rest in a deep sense of home? Home that is your being. And could you allow yourself to return to peace? And could peace be allowed to be here? Because you give yourself permission to return to freedom. And what would life be like if you allowed yourself to be free? What would it be like? So I invite you to take a nice deep breath. And you're welcome to open your eyes if you like, or you can certainly stay relaxed in meditation as long as you like. I just like to open up the call and give you an opportunity to share if you'd like. You're welcome to share your experience, ask a question, share a game, or if you'd like any individual support with something, this is a beautiful time to do that. This this Monday, we're starting the Peace and Prosperity program. So if anybody wants to join us, we'll be diving deep. I'm excited because it's for those who are really serious about creating a transformation in your life using this practice, essentially. So we're starting on Monday. So everyone is quiet, which is wonderful too. A sense of satisfaction. It's very quiet. And so I encourage you as you love this practice along with me to explore the nature of beingness, because I feel that I created a little video in the community that talks about, I felt like as I was on this journey of releasing, there were times when I really needed a map. And maybe it was just for me. But what I felt was most helpful for me, it was like the map had three core components. And it seemed as if, as I deepened my understanding and experience of beingness, it brought great abundance in my experience. The fears of lack and limitation began to fall away because beingness is completely unlimited, as you've seen for yourself, as you experience the unlimited, infinite, eternal nature of your being. You're just not so freaked out anymore. You're just not so triggered or worried about the future or regret over the past. And all of that begins to fall away, and you begin to experience beingness as your nowness. It's your everyday experience, is that you're You always have what you need when you need it, which is totally true for everyone. And you're kind of like awakening to what's already real. You're just beginning to see like the infinite nature of your own health, of the vitality, the life. It's not limited. Do you think that eternal, infinite beingness can be limited by dates or ages or time? I mean, that's like, it's hilarious. Like, why do we have to bow down to beliefs of limitation around age or health, around ability or vitality? Is there like an expiration date for life itself? And I know that the pictures and the images can be very convincing that there's a beginning and an end, but I assure you there isn't. That beingness just goes on and on and on, and that you are way beyond your story and your body, and that you can experience that freedom and that limitlessness now. And what I love about it is it's practical, it's real, it's like a real life practical experience as you begin to just gently allow. And that allowing is what has really made the difference for me because at, at one point I was struggling so much financially. I was working so hard, but I really wasn't, it didn't make any sense. Like I didn't really have much income, but I was working really hard. And when I got really honest with myself, I realized that deep within, I didn't feel I deserved it. I have no idea where that came from, but I just believed it. I was convinced that I was guilty and that I just didn't deserve it. And it sounds so silly, but it was my reality. I was just like trapped in these beliefs that I didn't even know I had. And it wasn't, there's no blame. That wasn't my fault. I just was believing something. I probably just picked up these limiting beliefs in the world. We just pick them up and they're not even ours, but we become trapped by them. And then as I began to just, no, what if I let that go? Like, what if that whole picture, that whole story could be let go? And for me, it was a gently falling away. It doesn't necessarily happen all at once. It can happen all at once, or it can happen gently, little by little. But as I began to like chip away and let go of wasn't me, it was more and more of I could allow myself. And just that allowing, like more things began to unfold in ways I could have never planned. It was just happening. I wasn't making it happen. It was just that abundance was pouring in because I was allowing what was already mine, essentially, by letting go of the limiting beliefs. And even though they're just beliefs, they have a very direct impact in your experience because they essentially become your reality, even though they're just a limiting belief. So as you let them go, you become more and more free. It's like you're taking the shackles off. So deeply understanding beingness and practicing beingness and, and being open to seeing more. That little bit of willingness seems to be all that's ever needed. Just a willingness to see in a new way. And it's shown to you because you have that childlike openness. And feel free at any time to interrupt me if you want to share something. I don't want to talk the whole time. You're welcome to pipe in and share your own experiences with this or questions. And so as I was identifying more with my eternal infinite beingness and less with a limited self, things just got better and better. And then the second thing that was really vital for me in this map, the roadmap for releasing, is self-compassion. really allowing yourself to have unconditional love. So in this moment, could you simply stop? And could you allow yourself a drop of unconditional love for no reason whatsoever? Could you give yourself a drop of unconditional love right where you are, without needing to do anything or earn anything or even let anything go? Just could you have love exactly as you are right now? And is there a reason good enough to withhold love from yourself in this moment? And if there isn't a reason good enough to withhold love from yourself in this moment, could you allow yourself to have some love? Could you let yourself off the hook? Could you give yourself some forgiveness? Could you allow yourself the opportunity to choose again? And whatever it is that you're holding against yourself, is there an openness to just let that go? And just like holding an object in your hand, could you let it go? And if you knew how, would you be willing to simply, whatever it is you're holding against yourself, would you be open to just letting it go? Just to see what happens. Would you allow it to return to peace? Would you let go of disapproving of yourself? And could all that disapproval be allowed to return to love? Could it be set free? And could you allow yourself to return to freedom? And could you allow yourself to return to abundance? Even if it's a little at a time. And could you allow yourself to return to joy? Could you allow the rest of today to return to freedom? Could today be allowed to be free? Free from limitations, free from what you think is supposed to happen or not supposed to happen? Or could the whole thing, just for the fun of it, be allowed to be free? To be a bit of an enjoyable adventure, whatever you would like today to be. Could you allow it to unfold in that way? Or evening, whatever, wherever you are in this moment, just the rest of this day, could it be allowed to be free? And could you be open to receiving? Beingness is very, beingness won't never let you alone. It's the essence of love itself. And so it's very active. It's constantly giving you guidance or ideas or inspiration or just something wonderful in some way. And could you be open to receiving that today? These surprises of goodness that are coming your way. Could you be open to seeing them and receiving them? I really think it's that allowing, as you allow things to be as they are, you essentially set them free and you allow more good, more abundance to come into your experience. And that's the nature of reality, is pure goodness, pure freedom. And as you let go, those clouds begin to clear and you begin to see clearly what's already yours. All the good and the abundance, the peace and the well-being, that's yours. You don't have to do anything to earn it. But just that little willingness to allow it, all that's required. Thank you all so much for sharing your beautiful presence here. It's so treasured, truly.